Hello guys, in this video I'm going to show you what is the difference between wishing for a thing and knowing it, and how important it is to deny your past failures and past problems. So stay with me till the end of this video. So be perfectly indifferent to the evidence of the senses so that you may feel the naturalness of your desire, and your desire will be realized. Turn from appearances and feel the naturalness of that perfect perception within yourself, a quality never to be distrusted nor doubted. Its understanding will never lead you astray, so your desire is the solution of your problem. As the desire is realized, the problem is dissolved. So you cannot force anything outwardly by the mightiest effort of the will. There is only one way you can command the things you want, and that is by assuming the consciousness of the things desired. So the biggest mistake people make is believing that the outside world is the final truth. But as I repeated in many videos, by accepting what you see, you remain emotionally tied to the problem and continue to reproduce the same experience. And I ask you to do something completely different. I ask you to become indifferent to what your senses tell you when those senses contradict what you desire. So when it comes to making your desire feel natural, I don't mean to create excitement for a few minutes. I don't mean for you to call out affirmations all day while secretly worrying inside. You can figure out that too. So you have to reach a point where the desired state feels natural and familiar. There are unnumbered examples on things that feel natural and normal to you right now and every day. So you remember things, you recall inner dialogues without thinking much about them because they are natural and fused in your subconscious mind. So trust this inner perception because it is more important than appearances. Because one day circumstances look favorable and another day they do not. So if you base your faith on appearances, your confidence will rise and fall every day. But the inner perception of yourself as already being what you desire can remain stable regardless of circumstances. Because your desire should be the solution of your problem. Desire is a revelation of a higher possibility. If you desire health, the desire itself points toward the state that solves the problem of illness. If you desire abundance, the desire points toward the state that solves the problem of poverty. If you desire a loving relationship, the desire points toward the state that solves loneliness. So the desire is not your enemy. The desire is showing you the direction in which your consciousness wants to move. Therefore, when the desire is realized, the problem disappears because the fulfilled desire and the problem cannot exist together. And you can do that by occupying the state of already being it, asking yourself, how would I think if this were already true? So you have to trust that inner state more than what your senses show. So let the fulfilled desire become familiar, become normal and accepted in consciousness. And as you continue to occupy that state, the problem that once seemed so real begins to lose its power because the solution has already been accepted within. And now there is a vast difference between feeling a thing and merely knowing it intellectually. You must accept without reservation the fact that by possessing or feeling a thing in consciousness, you have commanded the reality that causes it to come into existence in concrete form. You must be absolutely convinced of an unbroken connection between the invisible reality and its visible manifestation. So your acceptance must become an intense, unalterable conviction which transcends both reason and intellect, renouncing entirely any belief in the reality of the externalization except as a reflection of an inner state of consciousness. When you really understand and believe these things, you will have built up so profound a certainty that nothing can shake you. And your desires are the invisible realities which respond only to the commands of God. So there's a huge difference between simply understanding something with your mind and actually feeling it to be true within yourself. And many people read books, they learn the theory of manifestation, they can explain the law to others, they know that imagination creates reality, they know that assumption hardens into fact, they know that feeling is the secret. But yet, despite knowing all of this, their lives often do not change very much. And why is that? Is because intellectual knowledge and inner conviction are not the same thing. A person can know that they are supposed to think positively while still feeling hopeless. They can know they are supposed to assume wealth while still feeling poor. They can know they are supposed to feel loved while still feeling unwanted. Their mind may agree with the teaching, but their deeper feeling of self remains unchanged. And most people assume that if they understand something intellectually, they have changed. But the thing is that we shape our life, we create through our identity. We live from the assumptions that we have repeated so often that we feel true. For example, a person may know they are talented, but emotionally they feel inadequate. They may know success is possible, but emotionally they feel like someone who never gets lucky. And in these situations, the intellectual mind and the emotional self are living in two different worlds. The reason people often struggle to create change is because they try to change their thoughts without changing their identity. They gather more information, they read more books, they watch more videos, they learn more techniques, and yet underneath all that knowledge, they still feel like the same person. They still emotionally relate to themselves in the same way. But your emotional relationship with yourself is far more important than the information stored in your mind. Because even people that cannot read or cannot hear, they can manifest, they can shape their own life. And people often repeat the same patterns for years. Someone who feels unworthy may continually sabotage opportunities without realizing it. Someone who feels rejected may unconsciously expect rejection and interpret neutral situation as rejection. And also someone who feels unsuccessful may hesitate, may doubt themselves, avoid risks, and unknowingly create the very outcomes they fear. So before anything changes externally, something has to change psychologically, something has to change inside you. A new experience usually begins with a new self-concept. And when Neville talks about feeling a thing, he's talking about psychological acceptance. He's talking about reaching the point where a new idea about yourself no longer feels foreign. Think about how much your life runs automatically. You don't consciously decide how valuable you are every morning. You don't consciously decide whether people like you or dislike you. You carry assumptions about these things automatically. Those assumptions operate beneath awareness and quietly influence how you interpret reality. And when you truly accept a new state, you begin changing those hidden assumptions. You stop relating to yourself as the old version of you. You stop emotionally identifying with the old story. And because your inner relationship with yourself changes, your behavior starts changing naturally. Your expectations change, and confidence changes, and focus changes, because you are no longer psychologically operating from the same identity. This is why Neville talks about the connection between the invisible and the visible. Much of human behavior begins internally long before it becomes visible externally, and Neville wants you to pay attention to the invisible state that produces that outcome. And now the next idea is even deeper. Your conviction must become stronger than reason. It means refusing to let temporary evidence destroying a new identity that you are building. Because the human mind is heavily influenced by present circumstances. If things go well, confidence rises, but if things go badly, then confidence falls. And most people's self-concept changes from day to day because they let circumstances tell them who they are. And the real transformation happens when your identity becomes more stable than your circumstances. When one bad day no longer convinces you that you are a failure, when one rejection no longer convinces you that you are unlovable, or when your internal belief becomes stronger than temporary experiences, that is what Neville means by conviction. A mind that no longer takes every external event personally, a mind that is not constantly seeking validation from the outside world. Because the outer world should be viewed as a reflection of consciousness. Much of what disturbs people is not the event itself, but the meaning they attach to the event. Two people can experience the exact same situation and react completely differently. From the same situation, one sees opportunity and another sees danger. One sees possibility and another sees proof of failure. The event may be identical, but the inner state interpreting the event is different. So stop obsessing over changing every external condition. And this is what Neville calls certainty. It is the emotional stability that comes from no longer being divided within yourself. And most people suffer because they are double-minded. One part of themselves hopes and another part fears. One part dreams and another part says it is impossible. And this internal conflict creates emotional exhaustion. But you can reach a state where the conflict ends, where your conscious desires and your deeper self-concept becomes aligned. So lasting change does not begin with circumstances, with techniques, with effort, or too much knowledge. It begins when a person fundamentally changes the way they experience themselves. So the real battle is not between you and the world. The real battle is between the old self you have emotionally accepted for years and the new self that you are learning to believe you already are. So once you can fix it and change the old habits, you will start changing everything. Because the hardest part is changing those habits, and I'm creating a new video on that topic, so stay tuned and don't forget to subscribe. So enjoy your weekend, guys, and see you in the next video.